How's Thomas Müller doing in the MLS? 25 years, a half-life. Thomas Müller and FC Bayern were not just connected, they were fused. Identity, routine, success, history, stacked season after season until it felt impossible to imagine one without the other. Then the spring of 2025 arrived, and the unthinkable became ordinary club business. Bayern and Müller parted ways. Officially, it was a mutual decision. In reality, it was two timelines slipping out of alignment. Bayern wanted to engineer the future. Müller wanted to shape the present. He still craved the pitch, the heartbeat moments in the half spaces, the chance to lead from the inside. The club, meanwhile, needed room, symbolic, tactical, financial, for a new generation. The curtain fell quietly, professionally, but with a weight you could feel. On April 5th, the message was delivered. No new contract, no last dance at the Allianz Arena. Müller smiled because professionals smile in these moments. That's part of the craft. But between the lines, it sounded different. He would have carried on. He would have laced the boots again, stepped into that familiar dressing room once more, shared the jokes, the tension, the preparation that turns athletes into a team. Bayern made its call. That too is part of the craft. Football never stands still, even for those who once made it look timeless. A quarter-century compressed into headlines and goodbye videos, yet the arc from ponytailed academy kid to world champion, Champions League winner, and club icon refuses to fit into any neat farewell. Müller's identity had always been paradoxical. The prankster who reads games like a grandmaster, the Raumdeuter who drifts into destiny. He evolved from smiling sidekick to strategic fulcrum, from finishing flicker to pressing trigger, from where does he actually play to he plays where winning happens. In a club that reinvented itself every few years, he was the constant that made reinvention safe. That's why the break felt seismic. When constants move, the compass wobbles. Yet the story didn't end. It pivoted. The next chapter wasn't nostalgic MLS semi-retirement, it was a test. Can a European legend drop into a new league, a new culture, a new team, and immediately matter? The signature landed in August, designated player. Contract through the end of the year with an option for more. Number 13, a detail bigger than any press release cliché because it said what Müller's always said without saying it. I'm still me. Vancouver offered precisely what he thrives on. Structure without ego. A collective with roles, but no sacred cows. He didn't need a team that revolved around him. He needed a system with friction points he could grease. The coaching staff had patterns. He had the intuition to bend them at speed. The roster had creativity in Ryan Gauld and execution in Brian White. Müller could connect dots before others saw the line. He stepped into the space between a classic number 10 and a second striker, where angles change faster than markers can turn their hips. He pressed not as a sprinter chasing shadows, but as a metronome setting traps. He appeared as the extra man where opponents least expected it, which is usually exactly where he expected them not to expect it. The numbers didn't need inflation to look dramatic. 6 games, 6 goals, 3 assists. A contribution in almost every third attack. A starting Einwurf rate around 56%, and yet the impact read 100. He didn't need 90 minutes. He needed one correct touch, one disguise of the eyes, one blindside run that forced a defense to pivot the wrong way. In the Canadian Championship, he added another game, another goal, another assist, then lifted the trophy after the final against Vancouver FC. His headline moments arrived quickly. A hat trick in a win over Philadelphia, the inevitable player of the matchday nod, and a stoppage-time winner against Orlando that shoved Vancouver to the top of the West and ricocheted across Canadian social feeds. The local embrace wasn't for a flawless icon, it was for an authentic competitor. He grinned, argued with referees in 2 languages, applauded pressing triggers like goals, and meant every second of it. The arrival sequence was staged because modern football choreographs everything, airport content, sound bites, training cam footage, but Müller slipped past the stagecraft. He gave interviews in fluent, teasing English. It's not football, it's soccer, but it's still my game. And the line worked because it sounded like him, not a media consultant. Lisa Müller stayed in Germany for the dressage season, which is what elite families do. They balance careers. He based himself near the training ground, found a rhythm, coffee, teammates, walkthroughs, short drives. the uncomplicated city moments that help a life recalibrate. He wasn't there to play celebrity, he was there to play. With him, Vancouver's shapes sharpened. Attacking possessions gained an extra beat, the exact amount needed to turn a decent final ball into a decisive one. The pressing became less frantic and more precise. The team compressed and expanded on cues that he seemed to whistle into existence. Set pieces grew teeth. Gauld's creativity found a first reader who thought at the same speed. White's runs received passes with right foot, left foot, instep, heel, the correct surface for the correct moment. The team didn't just get better, it got braver. The table told a simple story. Vancouver at the top of the West, playoffs in hand, MLS Cup talk no longer a stretch. And yet, in North American football in 2025, every path winds past a singular gravitational body. Lionel Messi. 26 league goals, a constellation built around his orbit. The mind can't help sketching the possible final. Vancouver versus Inter Miami. Müller versus Messi. Two world champions, two brains disguised as forwards, two eras shaking hands under floodlights. It sounds like marketing. It would feel like legacy. The point isn't who is greater. The point is what happens when mastery meets clarity on neutral grass. Back in Munich, the logic behind Bayern's decision remains defensible. Succession plans, wage structures, minutes for younger legs. Clubs think in windows, legends think in seasons. Neither side is wrong. But departure has a second logic. What comes next must justify what came before. For Müller, Vancouver is the justification. He didn't want to be a monument polished once a week before kickoff. He wanted to be kinetic, relevant, necessary. The difference shows up in the humility of simple actions, checking to feet to open a lane behind, stepping wide to pin a full back, choosing the second best pass because it sets up the best third man. Most players gain speed by running. Müller gains speed by removing a thought from everyone else's head. The North American game suits this craft. MLS rewards transition and punishes hesitation. You don't out-sprint chaotic weeks, you out-think them. In stadiums where the atmosphere blends local community with big stage energy, Müller's gestures translate instantly, the point towards a space that hasn't opened yet, the thumbs up for a risk that didn't come off, the clap that says, again. The squad absorbs it. The staff builds around it. The city notices. He'll never pretend he's from Vancouver, but he doesn't need to. Belonging isn't about origin, it's about repetition. Show up, do work, make others better, do it again next week. From the emotional goodbye in Munich to the assertive reset in Vancouver, the through line is attitude. Career arcs don't bend around age, they bend around intent. He chose to stop being an emblem and remain a player. The league chose to treat him not as nostalgia, but as leverage. Everyone wins when the fit is this honest. He came, he saw, and he's scoring again. If you want to keep tracking where the game is going, and who still shapes it when the spotlight moves, stick around. This isn't a farewell tour. It's a fresh act, and it's only getting interesting.